Are you interested in publishing open educational resources? If so, the Open Education Network is here to help. Hello and welcome. My name is Karen Lauritsen. I am Senior Director Publishing with the Open Education Network. We are based at the University of Minnesota. I am going to be your host for the next few minutes as I provide an overview of the publishing support that the OEN offers. First, I will define our publishing support areas, then recommend and apply support to common publishing scenarios. A word about our publishing focus. The Open Education Network is focused primarily on open textbooks. However, you can extrapolate much of the information we share to other OER. By their nature, open textbooks have permission to edit, thanks to their open licenses, usually Creative Commons licenses. They are organized hierarchically, and that structure informs their accessibility. Together, these things make a textbook compared to, say, a monograph, for example. Now, the OEN is not the publisher of open textbooks. Our members or the authors are the publishers. So we are here to support you and your institution in publishing OER. You can group our publishing support into 3 general categories. Of course, these categories overlap. You can mix and match them, but generally, if you think of them as community, infrastructure, and professional development, you'll have an idea of the whole picture of support that we offer people who are interested in publishing. Now let's take a look at a few different publishing scenarios and think about how we can apply support and resources from these 3 areas to these scenarios. The first scenario is somebody who has interest at their institution. They are hearing from faculty that they want to publish an open textbook. However, they have minimum publishing experience, limited capacity, not a lot of time, not a lot of money, and they are still looking for ways that they might be able to support OER production. In that scenario, you could decide to attend a Pub 101 cohort, for example. Get to know other people who are in a similar scenario and get a general informal orientation to what you can expect with open textbook publishing. We focus a lot on what you can anticipate when working with an author on a project. You might also want to take a look at our publishing toolkits, which are collections of resources and adaptable templates that you can use to structure your relationships and, if you so choose, your program. If you're at an institution that does not have its own instance of a publishing platform, you may want to look at our Manifold community, where people can publish their OER and have it be made available through this shared infrastructure. You could also join us for our monthly tea times, which are produced by our publishing advisory group. And of course, you could take a look at the Open Textbook Library, which is a collection of open textbooks made available to anyone, anywhere in the world, and where we also provide a textbook in development feature if you would like to let people know what you're working on and raise the profile of that project. Another word about the Pub 101 curriculum and cohort. Briefly, the Pub 101 curriculum is an openly available curriculum in Canvas that includes a lot of templates and stories that you can use to structure your learning about publishing open textbooks. Once a year, we typically host a cohort or 7 synchronous sessions for you to get together, talk with people who've been down this road before, and ask your questions about what to expect. It's really helpful for beginners and for people who may be working by themselves. It talks a lot about self-care and how to survive in what can sometimes feel like an isolating atmosphere. We just recently published a 4th unit in the Pub 101 curriculum, and that's on the role of artificial intelligence. We provide an early overview of AI and OER, discuss copyright, public domain, and evolving law, talk about how authors might want to use AI, and how to structure conversations with faculty. What do you tell them when they say, I want to use AR to create an open textbook? Okay, let's look at a second scenario. In this scenario, the person has interest as well as funding. So the plan is to launch a grant program. This is a popular way to make great use of funds to support a variety of projects. In this case, the person feels they have the capacity to support 3 projects. They know that they're going to consult on open licenses, and they want to set a contingent deadline for when to pay people along the way as they're developing their project. In addition to the support that I had mentioned in the first scenario, I would also say that this person may want to take a look at our OER publishing workshop. This is a slide deck that you can use and adapt to introduce faculty to open licenses, common workflows, and introduce them to the structure of your program. I'll also add that Pressbooks extends a 30% discount to OEN institutional members. So if you're looking for a publishing platform to use in your grant program, you might want to check out Pressbooks. More about that adaptable presentation I mentioned. In the Introduction to OER Publishing workshop slides, we make a case for why open textbooks are useful and helpful for students, both academically and financially. We highlight the rewards for faculty and authors who are doing the work of creating the book, and we help you begin to roll out your program. As for the publishing toolkits, let's take a closer look at what is included. Our toolkits are divided into 2 collections. The first collection are templates and tools that you might want to use if you're supporting a project. So for example, a checklist or list of topics that you might want to discuss with your authors in a consultation. Things to think about while they're writing, what to do during the production phase, how to market an open textbook, and finally, thoughts about ways you might maintain that open textbook. In the other toolkit collection, we have a collection of resources from a more programmatic level. We provide ways for you to determine the scope of your program, to define the aspects of your program both for yourselves and to communicate to your author audience. We talk about ways to educate and engage authors on what to expect in their process, and provide you tools for assessing and reviewing your open textbook program so that you can continue to improve year after year, not just in what you provide for your faculty or your authors, but also for your own internal experience. Okay, now let's take a look at our third scenario. Now, in addition to interest and funding, this group also has publishing expertise. They know that they're going to support multiple projects at different phases. They want to offer their authors copy editing and design services. They consider this program a way to showcase their faculty work as well as the work of their library publishing program. They're going to go ahead and develop an imprint or a brand for that publishing program. So what can the OEN offer someone with this level of expertise in their open textbook publishing program? Well, in addition to the support I already covered for those with interest in funding, I would also suggest that these folks might want to look at Scribe's editorial services, as well as think about joining the KEDI pilot group. More on both of those in just a moment. Now, editorial services at a glance might cover copy editing, proofreading, indexing, typesetting, page and cover design, even ancillary development, and pre-press services for print and electronic formats. All of this can be provided for you by a vendor if you have the funding and want to outsource those services. Most authors are very grateful and excited to have this level of support. On the left, we can see an example of a before page from an open textbook. This is the opening page of a chapter. on a statistics textbook. On the right, we can see an after page. Both of these are attractive first pages of a chapter, but you can see on the right that there's been the addition of color, some stylistic elements, use of different typography, and there's a 2-column flow. This is an example of editorial design or editorial services. And in this example, it's been provided by Scribe. Scribe is familiar with the work that Open Education Network members do with open textbooks, and they are here to support you and can provide an estimate for what their services may cost on a particular project. Now, regardless of whether you relate to the first scenario with interest, the second scenario with funding, or the third scenario with expertise, there is something that is almost universal across all three scenarios, and that is that resources already exist. You probably do not have to create an application or a form or a memorandum of understanding from scratch. Somebody has been there before and they want to share with you, and you can adapt those resources. Second, you can almost always expect surprises when you're working in a publishing program. And deadlines will be missed. But really what we want you to take away from any OEN resource or program or experience is that you're not alone. There are other people who are working on similar projects and experiencing similar challenges and rewards. And by coming together, it's one of the ways you can take care of yourself and not feel too isolated and overwhelmed. Now, taking another quick look at the support the OEN offers, I'm just going to look at it again, revisit it in those three different groups that we talked about at the beginning. The first group being community. So at a glance, we provide a community of practice, a Google group where you can post questions and ask for examples, and many people will likely respond with some suggestions. We have monthly tea times, which are unrecorded, informal get-togethers when we explore a publishing topic and save time for you to ask your questions or have a little tea and sympathy if there's something you're working on and you want some feedback or consolation or inspiration. We have a publishing advisory group that is constantly thinking of ways to support you and give back to the OEN community. And periodically, we're looking for new members of that group. And of course, we have the Pub 101 committee and cohorts that go through annually and learn about what's typically involved with open publishing. That's a snapshot of our community support. In terms of the support we offer for infrastructure, there is, of course, the Open Textbook Library, including the feature I mentioned for a textbook in development where you can enter certain fields and let people know what you're working on and begin to promote that work even before it's published. There is the discount that Pressbooks extends to OEN members of 30%. There's a manifold group if you don't have access to an instance where you can offer this to your faculty or your authors so that they can create and publish and share their work. There is Kedi, which is a new publishing platform. We've been working closely with the Coco Foundation, which is developing Kedi, and we've been talking with them about features and ways they can enhance the tool for open education publishing. And we encourage you to join and share your feedback and inform that process. And of course, I mentioned that we have toolkits and other templates and infrastructure that you can use to build your program or structure your projects. And finally, professional development or support of your learning. There's the Pub 101 curriculum, always there for you. Pub 101 sessions, typically offered once a year. Pilot groups, like I just mentioned with Kedi, those are springing up now and again, and we'll always be in touch with those opportunities. And different committees and groups that you can get involved with to meet others who are working in the field and work together on ways to support one another. So I talked about a lot of stuff in this introductory video. Where can you find it? Well, we share a lot of these resources on our website because we want to give back to the common good. If you are the designated delegate at your institution or consortium and you have access to the Community Hub, You can find documentation there. We share a lot of information through the Google group. And if you are watching this video as part of our annual OEN Engage, there will be follow-up emails that point you to various resources. So thank you for joining me on this brief tour of the OEN's publishing support. I thank you for your commitment to student success, your willingness to learn more, and your interest in joining us.